Good morning, everyone. We just want to take a moment and check to make sure that we can be heard in the Zoom webinar. Matthew, Jake, can you hear us?
I'm hearing you well, Sam. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Chair Crandall, then we will be able to begin the meeting on time.
All right, so I'm just starting up the Zoom briefly so I can see. And here's the day. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the August 2nd Board of Supervisors meeting. As customary, we're going to start with a moment of silence, and I am going to offer condolences to Leonzo Rangel, and I also wanted to make a statement about suicide. I've had many friends from the military, many relatives, friends locally that have either contemplated or followed through. Please reach out to somebody, and please reach out to your friends. I know at times it seems as if when you have that thought, hey, I wonder how so-and-so is doing, just a text, sometimes that helps. Most of us in this county, we're one accident away from being in a detrimental position in life. And so I think that now more than ever, we need to reach out to folks who are, going through problems, going through things. And I think it's very important, reach out to your friends, reach out to your family, check on your elders, and check on, folks that you know that might be struggling with life. And so that way, we can prevent this from happening more often. So with that, I'll offer a moment of silence.
Sorry, go ahead. You're good. Sorry.
Supervisor Sabatier, would you lead us in the pledge?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For that, consideration of items not appearing on the posted agenda. Do we have any that may need to be proposed at this time? No? Okay. Approval of the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are items that are non-controversial. However, at times you can pull and ask for more questions and seek more clarity. We can pull one of those items and discuss at a later time. Supervisor Sabatier, it looks like you have one.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to pull item 5.9 and 5.12 for further clarification and discussion.
5.9 and 5.12. Okay. Anybody in the chambers that would like to pull any consent agenda items? And I don't see anybody, but I will look online. I'm not seeing any hands up, so for that, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.8, 5.10, 5.11, and 5.13.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Let's see, what are those items? Do you think we should take those up later, or do you think we can handle those now?
5.12 should be real simple and easy.
Okay, so 5.12, approve First Amendment to the commercial lease agreement between County of Lake and O. Marshall Incorporated, formerly Penna Realty, property management for the property located at 16170 Main Street, Unit C, D, and G, Lower Lake, California, 95457, and authorize the chair to sign. B, approve First Amendment to the commercial lease agreement between County of Lake and O. Marshall Incorporated, formerly Penna Realty, property management for the property located at 16170 Main Street, Units E and F, Lower Lake, California, 95457, and authorize chair to sign. Supervisor Sabatier.
So when I was reading through these resolutions, they both look almost exactly the same. They kind of say the same thing. They have the same titles, and in my opinion, when looking at a contract and it's an amendment, I want to make sure we can connect it to its original contract. And I spoke with our county council, and I also spoke with Director Marketan from Social Services, that adding the address and suite numbers to the resolution to make sure that it's connected to the appropriate one. So the first one is for suite E and F, and the second one is for suite C, D, and G, and they're both located at 16170 Main Street. I just wanted to make sure and add that level of detail so that we don't confuse if there needs to be a second amendment or anything like that.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. So what I'll do is open it up to the public, unless there's anything from staff that would like to cover. No? All right, anyone from the public that has any comments on this item? And I'm not seeing anyone in the chambers. I'm looking online, and I don't see any hands up, so I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the First Amendment to the commercial lease agreement between the County of Lake and O. Marshall, Inc., formerly Penna Realty Property Management, for the property located at 1617 Main Street, Unit C, D, and G in Lower Lake, California, 95457, and authorize the chair to sign with the amendments adding the address to the resolution, to the amendment, sorry.
Second.
So I have a motion to end a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, I move to approve the First Amendment to the commercial lease agreement between the County of Lake and O. Marshall, Inc., formerly Penna Realty Property Management, for the property located at 1617 Main Street, Units E and F, Lower Lake, California, 95457, and authorize the chair to sign with the amendment of adding the address to the amendment.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So that takes care of 5.12. We'll come back to 5.9 at a later time. And with that, we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is, let's see here, 905, Lake County Animal Care and Control Pet of the Week. And let's see what we got going here.
It's the invisible pet.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right, sir. They'll be about 20 minutes delayed,
Okay.
so we can come back to them.
We'll come back to that. So it is 9:07, so we'll go ahead and conduct public input. I have 3 documents for public input, and we'll start with Joan Moss. State your name for the record, and once you state your name, we will start the timer for 3 minutes. And just for further clarification, items that are brought forward in public input are not something that we can address at this time if it's not specified on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, we will ask you to come back and discuss this item when it comes up. So if this...
I understand.
Okay.
Joan Moss. I have contacted the Lake County Sheriff, the local water resource engineer William Fox, the Lake County Environmental Health Director Craig Weatherby, Marina Delagianis, maybe, I'm not sure I gave this to her, Deputy Water Resources Director. I have appealed the Planning Commission's decision, and I have been denied an appeal by the Lake County Supervisors because I do not have the $1,000 appeal fee. I also told you that I was waging a drought complaint. I have evidence of a hydrology report concerning Mombacho Mountain Organics Cannabis development on Wildcat Road next door to me that will affect my well on 9291 Wildcat Road. The proposed development is twice the size it was than it was before, and my well is in the circumference of influence draw proposed. And that fact has been proven by Craig Weatherby, environmental health specialist, that visited and documented that fact. I contacted the sheriff, head of emergency services, and he called me back. But he does not know where there is an entity to help me, but he knows my appeal has been denied. And this is a letter that I got from the DWR, evidence that I contacted the state. I'll give it to you. Anita, here's a copy. I'm going to speak later on this when the extra is taken up, but I wanted to make sure I covered my bases.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Next would be Ben Hiddle. Ben Hiddle, if you're here, you can come up to the microphone and, I didn't see him. No? Okay. All right. So with that, Greg, are you still? Greg, I know you brought your papers up, but yeah, okay. Come up to the microphone, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Greg Bianchini. I live on 13th Avenue in Lucerne. And my problem is with any positive change, the needle exchange program run by Anita Van Boreen. APC has made 13th Avenue in Lucerne out of balance. 13th Avenue is not a drug street. Children, seniors, parents, residents want APC off their street, and they want their street back to a normal balance. And then APC is set up in this street, and it looks like a food truck, an ice cream truck. Our children should not have to walk by or see this, by this truck ever. It's not safe at all. APC has been set up on 13th for 7 months now. Enough is enough. APC is the worst thing that's ever happened on 13th Avenue. Our children should always come first. Please have APC move off 13th Avenue, move to a safe area where there's no children. Please help us. Thank you. And then I'll turn this into you. And APC has a new complaint, formal complaint form that I'd like you guys to take a look at. And I've got 2 copies of which I turned in last week. And the formal complaint form, it has requirements on it, and the requirements are intimidating and threatening. This form should be anonymous, I think. So that's what I have, and I'm going to turn this in. So I got copies of my 2 formal complaints, one by me and one by a neighbor. So I'm going to leave those with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All right. Is there anyone else that has public input at this time? Not seeing anyone in the chambers. I don't see anybody online with their hand up. So we'll go ahead and close 6.2, and let's see if we are, yeah, we are. So we are at our 6.3, 910, presentation of proclamation recognizing Lake County AmeriCorps Civic Spark Fellows. And Supervisor Simon's going to go ahead and present this declaration.
We get anybody in the audience that's here for this? Come on up, please. Okay, that's it. No one else is coming up? Yeah, everybody come on up. All the way up front, come on. Excellent. Morning. Got a few words. I'm going to read a few words, and then we're going to go into the proclamation. So, good morning, everyone. In local government, we lead by working to understand the current situation and anticipating future needs. Each of the supervisors want to provide the best possible support to the constituents we are elected to serve. Meeting that burden takes reliable services from long-standing institutions and new, fresh ideas. Input and contributions from young people are vitally important, and we all benefit when bright young people choose to devote their time to public service. AmeriCorps' Civic Spark program is an important piece of the puzzle. Each year, Civic Spark Fellows do remarkable work to develop the capacity of local governments and other public agencies needed to meet emerging needs. Since 2017, Lake County Fellows have helped prioritize wildfire and disaster mitigation needs, worked on development of the North Shore Fuels Management Team, Community Wildfire Protection Plan, provided invaluable insights into shoreline management, helped special districts effectively serve their customers, and much, much more. And we couldn't be more proud that our own Deputy Water Resources Director Marina Deligianis, is a former Lake County Civic Spark Fellow. You'll be hearing from the Deputy Director real soon. It is my privilege to present the proclamation of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Lake, State of California, commending the Lake County AmeriCorps Civic Sparks Fellows here for Lake County. And I do have 3 copies, but I see there's more than 3, so you guys let me know who gets these. Board of Supervisors, County of Lake, State of California, proclamation, commending Lake County AmeriCorps Civic Spark Fellows. Whereas Civic Spark is Governor's Initiative AmeriCorps program of Civic Well, formerly the Local Government Commission, in partnership with the State of California through the Office of Planning and Research and California Volunteers. And whereas Civic Spark is dedicated to building capacity for local governments to address emerging environmental and social equity resilience challenges such as climate change, water resource management, affordable housing, and mobility. And whereas each year Civic Spark recruits fellows to build local public agencies capacity throughout the state for an 11-month service year. And whereas during their service years, Civic Spark Fellows implement a needed sustainability and resiliency project while also building long-term capacity to ensure the work is sustained after their service year is completed. And whereas Civic Spark has had a presence in the Lake County community since 2017 with a total of 15 Civic Spark Fellows who have served the Lake County community, dedicating over 31,000 hours of service to the community. Whereas the Lake County Civic Spark Fellows have implemented many projects throughout the community while serving fellowships with the Lake County Water Resources Department, Lake County Special Districts, City of Lakeport, Hidden Valley Lake Community Services District, and the Clear Lake Environmental Research Center. And whereas Civic Spark Fellows are also tasked with planning and implementing volunteer engagement projects in their community, and the Lake County Civic Spark Fellows have dedicated over 1,500 additional hours developing and implementing volunteer engagement events throughout the County of Lake. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the Lake County AmeriCorps Civic Spark Fellows are hereby commended for their dedicated service to the people of Lake County. And we extend to our previous, current, and future fellows happiness and great success in the years ahead. Issued on this second day of August 2022. Signed by the Chair of the Board of Supervisors. And I just want to say one final comment. There was a comment in there about the youth, the next generation's coming up. And I just want to thank you very much, because a lot of the things that are happening as we come through, it's right, it's absolutely viable. The next generations coming through are just so important. And you guys do great work. I've had an opportunity to work with some of the Civic Sparks on different programs, especially the CWPP as it was implemented. And just the energy and the enthusiasm and the long-term vision that's brought to the table. Just thank you. That's what I'll have to say, because it makes our job of serving the constituents that much easier. So thank you very much. Now I'm going to turn it over. Who's going to speak first? I guess it's going to be you.
Well, thank you so much, Supervisor Simon. I want to first thank the Board of Supervisors and the Lake County community for the continued support of the Civic Spark program. And most importantly, I want to give a congratulations to our current Lake County Sparkies who are all here with us today. It's no easy feat, the job that you guys have and the role that you guys play, especially with the COVID pandemic, up things lifting your last years of college and continuing education and choosing to come to Lake County and serving our community. You guys really are making a difference. So thank you all for the work that you do. Thank you to the community. And I'm excited to bring more information about the Civic Spark program for the continued success in the implementation of this program. So kudos to you all, and I will pass it off to you guys if you want to share your name and what project you guys completed this year. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much to the board for this. I am Emma Bellinger. I'm currently serving with the Lake County Water Resources Department. I'll be finishing up this week. I've had a really great and wonderful time and experience in Lake County. I've learned so much, and it's been just so wonderful. So thank you for this.
Hello, I'm Christina Linder. I served with the Clear Lake Environmental Research Center. I feel really lucky that I ended up in Lake County, and I'm really excited to take everything that I learned about forest management and fire resiliency to wherever I end up next.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, board. My name is Thomas Brown. I hail from Sacramento, California. I want to say thank you so much to Dennis White for being here and serving at the Hidden Valley Lake Community Services District, where I implemented AMI, or automated water metering technology. Thank you.
My name is Dennis White. I'm with Hidden Valley CSD, and I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege, and we are saying goodbye to Thomas. We did work with Marina in the beginning, and we look forward to the next set of Civic Sparks that are entering this coming up next month, actually. So thank you. Thank you all.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Klein. I'm with Clear Lake Environmental Research Center, and I just want to reiterate what everyone else has said. Thank you to all of the Civic Spark volunteers and fellows, and the work that they have completed on the ground is really inspirational. So thank you, and encourage your friends to keep coming back to Lake County.
Nothing to say? Okay. Sam, you want to get a picture? I can move.
Oh, yeah, now we have everybody in. Great, perfect, very smiling. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for choosing us.
All right, did you want to?
No, I appreciate the program. The benefits are mutual. They get the experience, and we get to move forward in projects that we don't have the capacity to move forward with, except with this civics program. So everything is, to me, it's a very positive program.
All right. Well, thank you again, and we hope to see you back eventually. But anyhow, great work, and good luck in the future. All right. With that, we will move on to our next item, or actually public input.
And
Sorry.
before you do leave the county, there's always job openings that we're looking for
Yeah,
here to recruit
there's
young minds.
lots of
So
I'll open up the public input. I actually don't see anybody in the chambers and or online, so I'll bring it back to the board and close this item and move on to 6.4, which is our 920 presentation by RCRC and Golden State Finance Authority on Assist to Own program available to county employees. Susan, did you want to? I don't know if they're online. Okay.
I see Carolyn from...
Oh, there's Carolyn. There's Carolyn.
And she's already been upgraded to the panel.
All right, and so what I'll do is I'll give an overview. I wanted to bring this forward. They are doing, I know that the county is working in collaboration with Golden State Finance. This is a program that the Golden State Finance has in their JPA that we're a part of through RCRC. And so we've sent some documentation and flyers over to the county so that we can work together with Golden State Finance for Assist to Own programs that we're able to work with Golden State Finance on. And so they're going to go into the details. This is for county employees, of course, but I just wanted to ensure that the specifics were, ironed out and people have a chance to see this program. And then when there's I think it's a session that they'll have later on for the employees to come look at and talk about in a more in-depth discussion, they can do so. So with that, Carolyn, if you're available, there, I see you right there. So I'll go ahead and give the floor to you. So far, we're not hearing you. I don't know if...
She looks like she's still muted.
I think you're muted.
Good morning,
There we go.
Supervisors.
All right.
Thank you all for inviting me to do this presentation this morning and to share some exciting information about a financial assistance program that's designed to help individuals that are employed by County of Lake to purchase a home anywhere in California. My name is Carolyn Sanseri, and I'm the Marketing Director here at Golden State Finance Authority. Golden State Finance Authority, or also known as GSFA, is a California public agency. We're a joint powers authority that was formed by rural county representatives of California about 29 years ago. The JPA consists of 38 member counties, one of which is County of Lake. Each member county has a board of supervisors that sits on our board of directors. So Supervisor Eddie Crandall, I want to thank you for your role on our board and being a part of making this program called the Assist to Own program possible today for the employees of County of Lake. The primary mission of Golden State Finance Authority is to support affordable housing in California and to contribute to the economic well-being of our constituents, of the residents. And to date, we've been able to help over 84,000 people to purchase a home in California. And the vast majority of the time, that is through the provision of down payment and closing cost assistance, of which we've provided over $647 million to California residents. Year after year, we have seen studies that talk about the impact, the positive impacts that home ownership have had on families, on communities, and to the economy as a whole. When you look at a study from National Association of Realtors, they repeat every time they do this study that home ownership can improve the stability of neighborhoods because as people become homeowners, they ground there in the community. They become more involved in civic engagement. They, their children are in schools and it increases their educational achievement and their own, feelings about the schools and what is needed for their families. It improves physical and psychological health of families. And there's a correlation as home ownership rises, there's a correlation that crime also is reduced. In addition, they're involved in the community and their money is going into the economy of the local community, strengthening it. But I'd like to take it a step further and talk about how home ownership can actually impact people on a personal basis, their financial situation for the future, their financial security. The Federal Reserve has estimated that the median net worth of a homeowner is over 40 times that of someone who doesn't own a property. And that's a lot of difference in their own financial wealth. The difference between $255,000 as a median net worth for a homeowner versus $6,300 for someone who doesn't own a home. So today what I'm going to talk about is this new program that we've been providing for a couple of months now. It's called the Assist to Own program, County of Lake Assist to Own program. I can cover an overview of the program today, but complete program guidelines, loan applications, interest rates, and annual percentage rates are all available through our participating lenders. We have over 200 lenders that are offering this program throughout California. And here in Lake County, you can look up the lenders that have branch locations nearby or that are approved on our website at gsfahome.org. The program provides down payment and closing cost assistance to employees that work for County of Lake. It's for the purchase or refinance of a primary residence, so it's a home that they're going to be moving into or living in as their primary resident. It can be a 1 to 4 unit property, however, a townhome, a condominium, and even in some cases, manufactured homes. The program guidelines themselves are very flexible. Our goal here is to give more access to home ownership to California residents and residents of County of Lake. So we don't have a first-time homebuyer requirement, for example. So whether you've owned a home in the past, or maybe you even currently own a home, if you are purchasing a home that you'll be moving into as a primary residence, you can qualify for the down payment and closing cost assistance of Lake County Assist to Own. The employees can use the program with government loans such as FHA, VA, USDA mortgages, or even with conventional financing. All of our loans are 30-year fixed rate loans, and we do have a maximum loan amount of $647,200. Employees also don't have to have perfect credit to apply. We have FICO scores allowed as low as 640 and debt to income ratios as high as 50%. There are no income limits at all if someone is utilizing the FHA or VA mortgage product. If they're using a USDA property financing, which can apply in a lot of Lake County, the income limits for that property are going to be listed on the USDA website, and we do follow those guidelines. The income limits for conventional loans, however, we do set, and those are published on our website, gsfahome.org, but they're actually quite high. They're low and moderate income, and it's only based on the income of the person that's qualifying for the mortgage loan, so the person that's on the loan application, whether that's one or more people. As you can see on the screen, I put some examples up of what those income limits look like if they are going with conventional financing. In Lake, Tehama, Butte, Colusa, Mendocino, those are kind of the counties that are nearby Lake. If they're purchasing in any of these counties, the income limit for conventional loan financing is $182,880. So definitely in the moderate income, you can still qualify with conventional financing. No income limits at all on FHA and VA loans. Now let's look at the actual down payment assistance that's being provided, because that's what we are here for. The assistance is up to 5.5% of your first mortgage. The first 3.5% of that assistance is provided as a deferred second mortgage. What that means is that it's a loan, it's a second loan, and it does have to be paid back to GSFA when the borrower refinances, sells the property, or at the end of the mortgage loan term, the end of 30 years. However, it's a deferred second mortgage, which means there's no monthly payments along the way. It has a 0% note rate associated with it, meaning that it's not accruing any interest. So the amount that is provided in assistance, 3.5% of the loan, the first mortgage, that's all that has to be paid back when they sell, refinance, or at the end of 30 years. The second piece of assistance is an additional 2%. And so a lot of times people need more than just help with their down payment assistance. So we've built a feature into the program to give them an additional 2% if they need it. And that is provided as a gift, but it does fluctuate the interest rate on the first mortgage in order to qualify for that gift fund. So the primary assistance is that first 3.5%. And is that enough for down payment? It is. On a conventional loan, only 3% is required for down. And so here on the screen, you have an example of a $400,000 sales price. If they were going with an FHA loan, it's about 3.5% that is required down. And so the first mortgage would end up being $386,000. They would need to come up with $14,000 for the down. We would provide them 3.5% or $13,510, which is pretty close to covering all of the down. If they went with conventional financing, it would cover all of the down payment requirement. And of course, there's that additional 2% that they can access to help with closing costs as well. The down payment assistance is really a tool to just help individuals and families to purchase a home sooner than if they were trying to save up that money on their own. We know in California that housing costs are a big portion of our income every month, and it's getting harder and harder for people to put money away in savings. And so our goal is to help people access assistance to get into homeownership today, to start building their financial security today. Home prices are continuing to rise, even if it's at a slower pace than we've seen in the last 2 years. It's still expected that home prices will rise 5 to 8% in the next year. And we know that rents are continuing to rise. And interest rates also, although they're still at historic lows, they have been increasing this last year. So with that in mind, consider how long it would take you to come up with that money for the down payment. In the example we used, it was $13,510 that they were getting for an FHA loan. So consider at $300 a month, how long would that take you to save up that same amount of money? $300 a month, it's 45 months or almost 4 years. So if you're predicted to see home prices rise at 5% a year, in 3.75 years, that's $75,000. So that's equity that you could have been building if you were a homeowner now versus waiting for that money. And it's also you can also look at it another way. By waiting and saving up that money for down, in 3.75 years, that property will be probably costing $75,000 more, which means your monthly mortgage payment goes up. So it's a tool to help you build financial security today if it makes sense. And again, it's available to all the employees of County of Lake. So you may be asking, how do our employees access it? Well, they do need to be working with a GSA participating lender. We have over 200 lenders approved to offer the program. They do not have to have branches located in Lake County. A lot of mortgage companies do work electronically, and they can, as long as you're working with an approved lender, one of our participating lenders, you have access to the program. We rely on our lenders to take and process the mortgage loan applications. We actually delegate the underwriting or the qualifying to the lenders. So they're going to go through the steps to collect documentation from the employee and make sure that they're in a position to qualify for that mortgage loan. Our client relations team, however, is available from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday to answer questions and to help out with getting you in contact with a participating lender if you want to get started. We also have the toll-free phone number, 855-740-8422, and you can visit our website for a lot of additional resources about the program. You can look up the income limits. We have additional educational videos and content on the website to give people an understanding of home ownership and yet get them prepared to be able to afford a mortgage as well. And with that, I want to thank you all for having me give this presentation. For the employees of Lake County today, I want to open up the floor to some individual questions if you have any.
Thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate we appreciate that presentation, and one of my biggest motivations to bring this here was, the thought of another opportunity for employees. We already have a problem with retaining and recruiting employees, and so programs like this are going to help us with people wanting to be vested in the community, having the opportunity to purchase a home. A lot of homes in Lake County are, some at some of the times they're not even resided in, and so with opportunities like this may be a potential for us to have homeowners and homes that could make the community better, more responsible homeowners and employees that feel vested in their community and feel better about their lives and the equity that they can possibly build. So thank you again. I don't know if anyone else has any questions. Supervisor Sabatier?
Yeah, thanks for bringing this to the agenda. I think that any kind of perk that we can offer to our employees, as you stated, creates a good incentive to invest in the community and stay within the community. I do have a couple of questions. One is PMI. I know that if you don't put down 20% of a down payment, you have to pay the extra PMI. Is that something that they're able to escape from through this program, or is PMI just an automatic if you don't hit that 20% down payment?
Great question, thank you. So private mortgage insurance is a tool to offer high, what they call loan-to-value mortgage loans, loans that don't require a traditional 20% down. So with conventional financing, we utilize a loan from Freddie Mac, a conventional loan called HFA Advantage, and it only requires 3% down. With that, it's a 97% loan to value. It does require mortgage insurance. That mortgage insurance is a monthly payment. It's calculated by a number of factors: the property location, the borrower's credit, income, a few different factors. But for borrowers who are at 80% and below AMI, so area median income 80% and below, so in a lower income bracket, our programs do allow for lower mortgage insurance requirements. So yes, the short answer is you will have mortgage insurance with any kind of mortgage loan. Even FHA does mortgage insurance that has a high loan to value. You're not putting 20% down. But we have structured this in a way to make it, they're not getting additional fees over going out and getting a standard product that has MI or an FHA loan outside of this program that has mortgage insurance. And in some cases, we're actually able to offer lower mortgage insurance requirements and cost for the lower income borrowers.
Okay, I appreciate the response. And the reason I ask is because I know over the course of 30 years and paying monthly payments into a PMI, it adds up throughout the entire loan process. Just wanted to at least speak to that and hope that conversation can continue when you're speaking directly to our employees so that they're aware, just because I don't think everybody's going to be coming in with $0 and getting the 3.5% loan from Golden State. They're going to probably have something else that they're going to be bringing to the table, and if they can get themselves to that 20%, it saves so much in the long run. Not everybody's going to be able to do it, but those who may not know may not realize that they're spending that much more throughout the term of their loan than they have to. My second question is, you said this is not for first-time buyers, meaning that if you already own a home and you're moving into a new home, that you can go ahead and utilize that. Can it be mixed in with a new home buyer's loan as well? Because I know that could be up to $40,000, and that can also help with some of those down payments. Just kind of curious if it can be combined.
Thank you. So I do want to clarify, we don't have a first-time home buyer requirement, but it's a great program for first-time home buyers. It just means we don't have a requirement that you must be a first-time home buyer. And as far as combining it with other programs or your own cash resources, we can do that. To your point previously, if someone has some cash saved up to put towards down payment, absolutely, we welcome that. But you can also still access the additional 3.5 for more assistance. So the more you're able to put down on the mortgage loan, of course, it will lower the requirement for mortgage insurance. But you can combine our Assist-to-Own program or the County of Lakes Assist-to-Own program with other programs as long as they meet the guidelines. So sometimes there's programs out there, I'm not sure which one you're referring to, which provide like an additional grant for a first-time home buyer. And it's a separate piece or a grant piece that can be combined with a mortgage loan, in which case we would be providing the mortgage loan, possibly the down payment assistance, 3.5% piece, and they could combine it with this grant from an outside organization or nonprofit as well. The caveat is that sometimes programs require that they set the mortgage interest rate on the first mortgage, and sometimes their assistance has to be in a certain position of payoff, for example. And so there are some factors when we look at combining with other programs that we may have to meet to determine whether they can combine a program. The best resource to figure this out is that participating lender. The borrower can get in touch with one of our participating lenders to ask about the Assist-to-Own program and what other programs are available to purchasers in and around Lake County. Then the lender can look at those guidelines of those programs and establish whether they can both be combined.
Appreciate the answer. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from the board?
The question I have is workshops. I know you talked about, do we have any scheduled coming up, since this presentation? So that would be
At 12?
There's something already scheduled?
I just don't have the date in front of me.
Okay.
Maybe Carolyn has it.
I thought it said
It's on
August 11th at noon.
I see Pam came on.
Yes, it's August 11th at noon. And there's actually a web page, a resource page for Lake County that we can probably put up. I can probably type it in the chat screen and provide it to all of you, where it actually provides a link to sign up for that webinar.
Okay. I see Pam, you came on?
Yes, I was just going to confirm that we do have it scheduled for the 11th at noon.
Okay, thank you.
And that was part of the strategy that I had was to have this presentation, since we had somewhat of a open schedule and the timed items, and have this discussed. I know a lot of employees tune in to the Board of Supervisors meeting to give an overlay, and then they can have some more, I guess, intimate questions, and when they can delve further into the program on Thursday. So that was my strategy on that. So hopefully it works out for some folks. If not, at least we tried and did what we could. So thank you, Carolyn, again, and I'll open it up for public input if there's anybody that has a question or comments on this item. Not seeing anyone in the chambers or in Zoom, so I'll bring it back to the board, and if there's nothing else, Carolyn, thank you again for conducting this presentation for us. Appreciate the work that we do together, and look forward to seeing you in the next Golden State Finance meeting.
Thank you.
All right, so it looks like we have our pet of the week present. I think he was signing autographs or something, so. So I'll give the floor to the Lake County Animal Care and Control.
Good morning. I do apologize for the delay. He was very popular in the front room, though. With me this morning, I have Clyde. He's about a year old. He's still a puppy, for sure. Lots and lots of energy, but as you can see, as I was sitting here in the board chambers, he gets really calm. He's really attentive to his person. Even just walking down from the vehicle this morning, he was already learning how to walk on a leash properly. He came in with his sister, Bonnie, who we also have. She is also high energy, and both of them are available today for adoption. If anybody has any questions regarding them, they can either give us a call at 707-263-0278 or come on down to the shelter to meet him at 4949 Helbush Drive.
Beautiful dog.
No comment? No comment.
No comment, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see, so we did that. We will move on to, let's see, any preferences, Susan? Because I think we're past timed.
Yes, we can go straight to 7-2 if you like.
All right, 7.2, consideration of a letter requesting action by Governor Gavin Newsom to fill Lake County's District 4 supervisorial vacancy and authorized chair to, supervisorial vacancy and authorized chair to sign. So with that, I'll give the floor to Susan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. On July 12th, your board directed staff to bring back a draft memo to request from the governor to fill the vacancy left by the resignation of District 4 Supervisor Tina Scott. So we have prepared a draft for your review and consideration, and I want to thank Ms. Anita Grant for helping us draft this memo. So we're available for any questions you may have. A letter. Sorry.
All right, any questions from the board? Supervisor Sabatier?
Just because I know there was some questions out there in the public, our previous conversation clarified that because of July 31st being the date of resignation, that it is not possible within the timeline available to us to put this to an election, which is why today we're not choosing whether to do an election or to send a letter to the governor requesting appointment. We are solely requesting an appointment. I just wanted to clarify that.
Go ahead, Ms. Grant.
If I may, thank you. Not possible. I don't know what the governor's office.
I think you may have turned it off.
And just to clarify, we're asking the governor's office to appoint, which may or may not happen. Sometimes it takes them months, sometimes it takes them a long time, but the election possibility for this November is no longer a possible action for us to move forward with.
There did not appear to be a clear statutory path
It's not working, Sam.
Yeah, Sam, it's not working. Yeah. Maybe she'll share with Susan.
Thank you. Gosh. As I said, there does not appear to be a clear statutory path to allow that. How the governor's office may react to that is not something, the governor's office may see a possibility where your board does not. And as I said, in looking at it, once you got to the July 31st, I did not see a clear statutory path.
Thank you.
And I think too, just for more history, I think we did discuss at the 6th meeting, I think it was, or something like that, or was it the 14th, one of the two? But there was a discussion about the potential for the election, putting it on, but the Register of Voters office explained that would be very, we're past that deadline, be very difficult, the cost would be very, it wouldn't be auspicious to conducting that. So I don't know if you wanted to add to that or Supervisor Simon, but I just wanted to highlight that because I was asked as well in some of these instances. So.
Yeah. No, just wanted to clarify since I know the question was out there.
All right. Any other comments from the board?
No.
All right, I'll open it up to the public. Anybody in the public want to discuss this item? I know there's a public comment from Michael Green, and he stated the appropriate board action at the appropriate time. Trying to do a better job of reading off public comments so people know they're heard. All right, so bring it back to the board because I don't see anybody on Zoom as well. And for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the letter requesting action by Governor Newsom to fill the Lake County's District 4 supervisory vacancy and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
So I have a motion to end a second. To all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and motion carries. So that takes care of that item, and we will go down the list. Let's see, consideration of public review and approval of the County of Lake Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention HHAP Round 3 application for $569,940, including a local homelessness action plan. With that, this is presented by the Director of Behavioral Health Services, Todd Metcalf, and I see he's here with us on Zoom, so we'll go ahead and give the floor to you. And I see Scott here, if you'd like to come up and join us at the front and take one of the seats, you can come up here as well, yeah. That way, if there's any questions or if you can guide us in any direction, if Director Metcalf needs your assistance, we can go from there.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My apologies for not being there in person, still having some vehicle issues. I'm stuck at home this morning. But I want to thank you for this opportunity for us to present this item. I know the board memo is quite lengthy. There's a lot of information in there. You may be familiar with the Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program because this is the third round of funding for this program. So we're here to explain a little bit more about it and also to get approval, not only for our application for this funding, but also for the Continuum of Care Local Homelessness Action Plan. So I see Scott, thank you for being there. Scott Abbott, our Mental Health Services Act and Housing Program Manager, is really our subject matter expert on this item. And so with the board's permission, I will turn it over to Scott, and I will be here to help if needed. But Scott, if you would like, take it away.
Go ahead, Scott.
On?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. So you're probably aware that the governor's office and the state legislature have been trying to address homelessness in California for the last few years. One of the hallmarks of that effort is the homeless housing assistance and prevention programs that have existed. Round one was a few years ago. They are issued to both or to counties and large cities, and also to local continuum of cares. Lake County has received funding for that in the past and has used it mostly for our local shelters that we have present. This is round 3 that we're receiving this year. There's also been approved around 4 for next year. This year, as the memo says, it's for $569,940 that will be coming for the county. One of the requirements of that is to produce a local homelessness action plan. That was provided to you, and the main thing that we need to do, according to the regulation for this, is for the board to approve it and to receive any kind of public input on that plan that we can have. The plan is also shared with our local continuum of care, and it's been on our website for the last about 2 months to receive public review. The continuum of care has also reviewed it and approved it about in June. So it's now being brought here for your approval. The main parts of the plan, first of all, the plan was developed based on previous homeless action plans, or not action plans, but just homeless planning plans that have existed, which you may remember, such as we've done one for the No Place Like Home grant. There's the Community Development Department's housing element. There's the Continuum of Care's strategic plan, and so kind of all those pre-existing plans have been utilized to develop this plan, as well as receiving input from and feedback from local housing experts, providers, and also interviewing people that are homeless. What needs do they feel would be important? So a lot of kind of public input has been provided for in the development of the plan and existing plans or previous plans. And so this particular plan takes those into account, and its main things three components are to, one, describe what our county is like, what our homeless situation currently exists, what are the demographics of our folks that are homeless, which has largely been based on our previous point in time counts, as well as some other sources of information. And then the last component is dedicated to what we're looking to do with this funding. And the last part is, as mentioned previously, is 10% will be used for youth services. So we'll be most likely combining that with the Continuum of Care's funding and produce a request for proposal on how to use that. Then the other part, I don't have it written in front of me, but the $400 and some thousand we plan to use for the Collier Avenue project, which I know you're familiar with for a number of times, and we requested to use that. The funding and the grant fit the goals of that project, and the project, frankly, needs the funding to keep it viable. And so that's essentially what the plan is.
Todd, did you have anything else to add, or?
No, Scott, yeah, you covered it all. So thank you for being there. And again, sorry, I'm stuck at home.
No worries. Any questions? Supervisor Sabatier?
Thank you very much for this. Couple of questions. One, just right off the bat, it says here round 3 application for $569,940. I thought it was 2 pots of money, and the first one was $569. Should we approve for the $1.1 million right now? Because as you read deeper into it, round 3 is 2 different pots of money that they speak of. Like one is the $569, and then one is like $640 or $610.
$610. Yeah. So, good question. So the way it's structured, as I mentioned earlier, is this funding goes to both counties and also to the COC. And so the COC received the $610,000, and the county receives the $569,000.
But are we the ones that are, because this is to approve submitting so that we can receive the round 3. This is to approve the application submission. So the money amount doesn't matter, it's just the approval of the application, and out of that, we receive the 569 and the 6.
Right.
Okay. So we don't need to speak necessarily about the funding when we do
Right.
the approval.
The nice thing is it's allocated. It's not competitive. They just have it set for us of what we can receive, and of course, we're going to ask for all of it.
Okay. And then I was reading through the action plan, and I appreciate that being shared with us. And there's a few things that stand out to me that I wanted to talk about. We used the 688, 1.5% of the population, which is the standard that I don't know if it's federal or state tells us to utilize. We claim that that seems to be close to our 2018 PIC count, but I also know that the following year and the following year after that, the PIC count's been really a whole lot less than that. Obviously, it's difficult to always have a perfect count, so it's a count that comes with a grain of salt. But just kind of curious if we're oversetting our expectations by utilizing a large number versus maybe averaging out between the numbers that we have found in our PIC count, because it makes us believe we have so much more work to do, which is difficult to be able to provide the services needed to get to the results we're looking for, our goals. So just kind of wondering if 688 is the right number to use, since it's just the basic state standard that is commonly used versus the number. Because I think we put out a good effort in our PIC count, and I think that we've learned and we've done better to try and go to the people rather than ask the people to come to us, just because that makes sense. And just kind of curious if we're oversetting our expectations.
Well, I think
I worry that we're oversetting our expectations.
Not sure how to answer that exactly, other than you know, the numbers are set, you know, based on PIT counts and you know, with estimates, because it's really hard to kind of, you know, nail down what our actual number is. You know, it really varies depending on the source of information that you look at. You know, the PIT count is done on one day, as you know, and if you miss people, you miss people. But there's also, you know, the Lake County Office of Education with their, you know, the students and the families, and there's a considerable amount that list themselves as homeless. And then there's Partnership Health Plan, which oversees Medi-Cal, and they also have a count, you know, based on that, and it also shows a high number of people in Lake County that are homeless, and they're all, you know, a little bit different. So it's always kind of hard to kind of pin that number down, and so you just kind of go with what you can.
Is there a way to average it? I mean, if you all are working together with those numbers, maybe do it some sort of average so we can have a baseline, maybe? Or?
You know, but they're all kind of, it's a little bit of apples and oranges.
Mm-hmm. The definitions are different.
Right, the definitions are different, which is really important. How they're done is important. You know, their PIT count is one time versus, you know, entire school year, versus, you know, anyone who signs up for Medi-Cal. So they're all kind of, you know, different measures. And so it's kind of hard to kind of like average that, other than to say that we have an issue of homelessness in Lake County.
And I just wanted to bring it up because it's something that stood out to me. It's hard to get that right number, but it just seemed like, I remember one PIC count was very high, and then it went back down, and it seems like we're utilizing that high number. I will also, just as a statement, not a question, I worry where the state is going with their definitions. I feel like we're asking behavioral health to become social services, because now the definition of homelessness is at risk of becoming homeless. And at what point is social services supposed to do their portion of the work, and when are you supposed to do your portion of the work? There's a lot of blending that's happening, and I think that the definition becomes very, it becomes such a wide net that it's no longer what you and I maybe would think homelessness is described as. So I think it's making your job more difficult in the direction that the state is going. The other part was there's a lot of goals, there's a lot of measurables that are provided within the goals to try and meet. But we're on round 3, and I don't see data from round 1 or round 2, and I want to make sure that we're learning from round 1 and round 2, and I'll just provide an analogy. I want to make sure that we're not doing something which works today, but when we're done and round 3 is no longer there and we're no longer accessing these funds, that we just end up in the same place we started before round 1. The analogy I have is what we did in Clear Lake, where we set some money aside to grade roads every year, and somebody said, well, if you do that for 20 years and you spend $10 million, you end up $10 million later with dirt roads. You didn't actually enhance anything. You didn't progress to a better place or a better environment. I want to make sure that we have the data from round 1 and round 2, and that we're utilizing that data to best understand how to utilize this round 3 funding to really have that long-term impact rather than what may appear to be an impact, but maybe the data shows otherwise. So do you have that data? Is that data accessible, and would it be shareable with us? Because it's not within the action plan, and it's not within the data that is on the side for the whatever that the spreadsheet that you sent me, but it's also part of the attachment. Yeah, the data tables. Just curious if we have that to be able to rely on it to basically make sure we're learning and progressing to the next step.
We are definitely working on that. I can answer this in a couple of different ways. HHAP in the past, round 1 and round 2, for both the county and the COC, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, but not an incredible amount. I mean, there's not enough to go out and build housing or things like that. And so what it's primarily has gone to emergency shelter, which is kind of like looking at it's putting out the easiest fire, and you can do that with an emergency shelter. It doesn't, unfortunately, do a lot of long-term things, but it does help people get off the street. And so that's where the funding has gone, and that's why we have both the Elijah House Shelter and Hope Center have received probably the majority of that funding. And so the results of having those 2 shelters is where that funding has gone. And indeed, we do have how many people have been sheltered, how long, that type of data.
I'd love to see that data. I think it'd be really important for us to see that so we can see the progression, see what works, see what doesn't work. And then my last piece is something that stood out to me, and that was at the very beginning when it summarizes the funding opportunities, and it talks about, and I can't see it right here, I'm not going to continue looking for it, but it talks about Collier Avenue. And we've had a long conversation about this. And the last time we had a conversation, we did an MOU with RCHDC or whatever their acronym is.
You got it right.
And we finally got a little bit more level of detail as to what that facility or what that housing project looks like and who will be invited to be the tenants. And I went back to the video to look, and it was a total of 40 units, 19 of which would be No Place Like Home, 10 of which would be Redwood Community Services, and 11 which would be low income. But when I read through the plan here, it's 100% is for mentally ill and homeless. And so I'm kind of confused as to where that project changed. And if there's an explanation for why in this, and unless it needs to be changed, and again, I wish I had it right in front of me. I'm going to keep looking to see if I could find it real quick. But why does it not state the same as it did before?
Well, this is a piece of the overall funding. There's the No Place Like Home grant, which is being utilized. This particular grant, we're also using the PLHA, which I totally forgot what that was, but that was brought up here a few weeks ago. And so there's kind of like a number of different funding streams that are going into that. This particular one, I guess, you could say is dedicated more toward the mental health, behavioral health, 19-bed part. Although.
So I'm going to read what I was seeing. It says that funding was recently formally allocated to the proposed Collier Avenue project, a permanent supportive housing project to be constructed on a county-owned parcel in Nice. About 1/2 of the units, which is what we were told, will be reserved for the chronically homeless, mentally ill. Remaining units will be occupied by developmentally disabled adults. The NP, the No Place Like Home funding, is allocated towards the chronically homeless, mentally ill portion. And so it feels like we're talking about the entirety of that housing project, but it also doesn't fit the last description that we.
I understand.
So I'm trying to make sure that we're
what RCHDC does is they take the funding that we're providing, those 3 different grants that I just mentioned, and they're using that to leverage tax credits, which helps fund the entire. And they're as you know, experts at doing that. They can take $10 and turn it to $100 by doing that. So that's their specialty, and so they'll take this type of funding, these grants, which is the real dollars, and be able to leverage more from it to fund the entire project.
And I get it what RCHDC does, and thank you for the answer. I appreciate it. I'm going to turn to Director Metcalf. Is there a change in the description of the project on Collier Avenue because this doesn't match the previous project description?
No, there has not been a change, Supervisor Sabatier. And as Scott was articulating, because there are so many different funding streams, it might look funny that this particular funding stream is, yes, dedicated to folks experiencing mental illness, but because the project is receiving funding from so many different sources, the demographic that's being served there has not changed. But this particular funding stream is, yes, dedicated to folks experiencing mental illness, but it's a piece of the whole funding puzzle, if that helps or makes any sense.
And maybe it's me. I just feel like I'm not communicating properly, but I'm reading 2 separate descriptions. I would love to have this action plan, if we're going to approve this action plan, which is what we're being asked to do, that it meets the same description that we were provided, which was 19 No Place Like Home, 11 Redwood Community Services, and 9 low-income housing, because the idea is we're building low-income housing that can fill this, but here it gets rid of the low-income housing, and it, in my opinion, becomes a facility rather than a housing complex, if the entirety of it is made for chronically homeless, mentally ill, and developmentally disabled adults. And so that's why I asked those questions specifically last time when we did the MOU with Collier. I wanted to understand what exactly were what was the intent of the tenants to move in, and also I asked the question, if you remember, if we don't have those rooms filled, can they be filled with those who are seeking housing that are low income? And the answer was yes, that it can be changed. I was provided the example of the farm worker housing in Lakeport, that was changed, and so I agreed to that, but this description does not match that, and in my opinion, we approved an MOU with those statements made. I'd like to change the current No Place Like Home program status to match that description, or else maybe we need to come back and have another conversation about the Collier Avenue as to the change of description, because I think that somewhere in my mind I'm thinking a facility goes through a certain process, a housing project goes through a separate process, because we talked about the CEQA process or the public comment process and things like that. So that's the only reason I bring it up, just because it just caught me off guard and felt like something had changed.
And just for a point of clarification, the residents, they are not Redwood Community Services clients, they are Redwood Coast Regional Center
I
clients.
apologize for that. There's too many RCSs
No,
out there.
I just wanted to make sure that, that was understood.
It looks like Linda has her hand up. I didn't know if you wanted Linda on the Zoom call.
yeah.
I don't know if she's a part of.
Yeah,
or-
that would be great. Linda actually
Absolutely,
was
yeah.
the author of this plan.
Okay. Linda, I see your hand up if you'd like to unmute.
Hi, I think I'm unmuted.
Yep.
Hi, Linda Hedstrom. I helped write that homelessness action plan. Sounds like there are a lot of questions about it. There's because of previous discussions on homelessness and what the PIT count is or isn't, I put quite a bit of detail at the beginning of that plan on the different official definitions of homelessness. And you can see how the PIT count is, a very specific look at a certain kind of homelessness subpopulation. And so that number is going to be different than, as Scott has explained, any other kind of homelessness definition, such as, the schools district looking at its homelessness numbers, which is also defined by that exact same code in HUD. HUD just very specifically says there's this kind of homeless population, there's that kind of homeless population. And depending on the funding source and the particular need, you will, use your own homelessness definition is allowed by HUD. So there's quite a bit of detail. The numbers for this HAP application don't particularly matter because we are looking specifically at for the most part, the Collier Avenue project, as opposed to the COC's application, which goes after a wide variety of homelessness needs. Collier Avenue is 100% a supportive housing project. By state statute, only 49% of the units, or in this instance, 19 units, can be specifically reserved for the chronically homeless, mentally ill. That's not to say that other units couldn't be occupied by the same population. But because of the funding sources, as Scott and Todd explained, we're looking at other people who meet the low-income homelessness or at risk of homelessness definitions. Developmentally disabled people do need supportive housing, and RCHDC did arrange with the developmentally assisted agency to help their clients with this housing project. If for whatever reason, as RCHDC explained in a past meeting, probably with the PLHA funding, if we had units available to other people, they would also still have to meet the funding requirements. So they would have to be low income, and there are different levels of that in Lake County, depending on family size. And depending on which unit they were going to go into, whether some units were assigned to specific needs, they would have to meet the requirements for those specific units. But the entire project is considered at this point a supportive housing project for the low income, with 49% of them reserved for the chronically homeless, mentally ill, which is totally within the wheelhouse of behavioral health services. Now, Todd and Scott also are the administrative entity for the county's community action agents, continuum of care. And that continuum of care is responsible to assess and attempt to meet the homelessness and at risk of homelessness and homeless prevention activities for the county. And that's why behavioral health is out of necessity expanding into other homelessness and prevention activities. But for this specific application, we are dealing with most of the funding being directed towards Collier Avenue's supportive housing for their clients, and the by California statute, 10% of that reserved for meeting the needs of the homeless youth, as Scott explained, going out to RFP and probably being combined in that RFP with COC's required 10% set aside for youth homelessness.
I appreciate the level of detail. Just seems every time we have a conversation about Collier, there's more detail. So I guess that's where we are. Thank you.
Yes, just wanted to highlight, I appreciate the questions that you asked Supervisors about. You had a lot of similar questions. You mentioned and answered one of mine as well, because I was going to ask how are we currently serving the homeless population, and you mentioned Elijah House and Hope Center. However, I know, I think I'm familiar with Elijah House. They're not going to be serving further than September in regards to the facility in Lakeport. Is this something that's going to help with that? I'm not sure how that will, look from here. Or, yeah.
This particular opportunity is permanent housing, which is really hard to come by, as you know, here in Lake County. And so that's why we're taking full advantage of that opportunity to do that with the limited amount of funding that we do have. We do plan to the COC wants to continue having a shelter in the North Shore area. And so we currently have an RFP that's out there to continue that.
Okay. Yeah.
But
And
it's not related to this particular fund.
No, this funding has to do, obviously, with Collier.
But just for your information, so for that RFP, we're using funding from the COC's round 3 of HHAP, and then the county's round 2 of HHAP.
I see.
To help support that.
And I seen that in the memo description and some of the plan. And for me, I really wanted to see a lot more further breakdown of some of those fundings that were spent in HHP2 and whatnot. I seen some of it here and there in the actual data tables. That helped me in some instances, but I just wanted to see a further breakdown of how some of that funding was spent. It would have helped me a little more. So I just wanted to highlight those things. Well,
we can definitely do a presentation for you about what the efforts have been so far and where the funding has gone. Okay. That would be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Supervisor Simon.
So I appreciate all the detail, the conversation that we've had, but I know Supervisor Shabate have a specific request on changing that language to look the same as what we approved before, and. So I'm going to pose the same question. If we change that language in this homeless action plan, is that going to affect the funding? That's really a question I have. Is that going to be a big change? Because I didn't hear that answer, or maybe it did come back. It was just a lot of talking that I didn't get a yes. Well, we can make that change. So
I think we can make that change.
And then still approve the action plan and still.
Yes, it's just a. Clarification is what you're essentially asking.
Yep.
I'm looking, if we approved an MOU, which we did on April 19th, I think it was, either we approve this as is and we change our MOU, because our MOU said something slightly different, so I'd like this for it to match.
Yeah, okay, we can do that.
No, we could certainly make an amendment to it, and that shouldn't affect any of the funding.
Right, because the reason we're here doing this is we're looking for public input, including your input. So that's.
And just to clarify the statement that we heard, these services fit within low income. So if we say that there's 9 units for low income, then it changes nothing, because those services are still seen as fulfilling the low income category.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Correct.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and HHAP funding in itself isn't by regulation, isn't meant just for those with mental illness. It's meant for anybody who's homelessness, who's experiencing homelessness. Sorry.
And I think one last thing I have is that one thing I know about Collier is it's been potential not only for the county, but it's been a potential for another agency back in the early 2000s for a youth center at one time, and that never came to fruition. And I'm confident and hopeful that this one will come to fruition with Collier. However, if it doesn't and we've received this funding, what happens to that funding? Does it go back to them? Do we use it in some other way? Do we appropriate?
If something like that happened, we would again come up with something that would fit within the grant's requirements, and of course bring it back to the board.
Any other questions or?
What I'm going to ask in my motion is to match the MOU and also a request for the data from round 1 and round 2 to come to us when you have it gathered and collected.
You bet. And we can report on other funding which has come in too.
Ms. Grant, did you have something to add?
I was just going to suggest for purposes of clarity that when you say match, that you're as specific as you can be as to what's going to appear in which document, and the type of language that you expect to see. That way there won't be any miscommunication after staff leaves your board meeting.
I would request that we come back to this item so that I have the chance to review the April 19th MOU and make sure and work with Ms. Grant to make sure that we are correctly adding language and not just
So at a later date?
making a statement that may not be what it is that we're looking to get.
Later date or later today?
Later today, if it's possible, because I know we have some people in the audience that are waiting for a specific item, and I think that after a 10-minute break, I'm sure we could figure that out.
All right, so would you like to take a break right now then and go from there, or?
It's up to you if you want to keep going. I know Mr. Abbott is here and probably
Mayor?
wants to get back to his office.
No, I'm fine.
So it's up to you, Chair.
Taking a break?
All right, let's take a 10-minute break and come back to that and then move forward from there. Ready when, okay, Sam, thank you. Welcome back from the break. We will open it up for public comment. I'm not sure if I did, but I will in case there is any. I know that was one of the main purposes that I know Scott had mentioned was to ensure we got some public comment on this item. So is there anyone in the chambers that would like to? And if so, please come to the microphone, state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes. If you're on Zoom, raise your hand, and then we'll unmute, and you will have your opportunity to speak. Okay, it looks like we don't have either or, so I'll bring it back to the board for action. Supervisor Sabatier?
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to offer what the amendment will be. I am on currently page 5 of the PDF for the action plan, and the actual page number is 4, if you had it printed out. It is in the section called Current NPLH, No Place Like Home Program Status. If you go down to the sentence after the large $557,000, it says that funding was recently formally allocated to the proposed Collier Avenue project. At that point, I'm going to offer to cross off a permanent supportive housing project and change it to what the MOU says, which is a affordable housing development, which is what we approved, located to be constructed on a county-owned parcel in Nice. And then the next sentence would be crossed out, which says about 1/2 of the units will be reserved, blah, blah, blah. And then remaining units will be occupied. So those 2 sentences can be scratched out. And then I will offer to add the 2 whereases in the MOU that we signed on April 19th, and I'll read them out loud right now. It says, Rural Communities Housing Development Corporation proposes to develop and provide property management services for an affordable housing development consisting of 1- and 2-bedroom units and an unrestricted 3-bedroom property manager's unit. The NPLH, No Place Like Home, assisted units will be dedicated to house adults 18 years or older with a serious mental disorder, as defined in California Welfare and Institution Code, section 5600.3, that are eligible as target population under the No Place Like Home program, California Welfare Institutions Code, section 5849.1 through 5849.15. And then also add the total household income at the time of move-in for the No Place Like Home assisted units shall not exceed 30% of the area median income limit as published by the California State Department of Housing and Community Development. That way it states what the MOU states, and it corrects the language instead of supportive housing development, that it's an affordable housing development that provides units for NPLH. And it did not have any further description within the MOU. We did verbally speak to those further descriptions, but since it's not in writing, I do not want to offer that for that change, but at least it now provides a cohesive homeless action plan regarding Collier and the MOU that we also signed regarding Collier. And I did speak with County Counsel, Ms. Grant, and that seems to be an appropriate change. I do want to ask staff to make sure that those changes, same question as Supervisor Simon asked, do those changes have any impact on the receiving round 3?
No.
No, and in looking at the eligible activities list, I would certainly say affordable housing falls under the category of delivery of permanent housing, so I don't believe there will be an issue with it at all.
And that aligns with what Ms. Hatfield was telling us as well, that it's all within that same category. So,
Yeah, so you just added some clarification, you know, and make it match.
Yes.
So that's fine.
That way there's a consistency in what we're talking about and saying, especially in writing. If there's no further discussion, then I move to, what am I doing here? Approve the County of Lake Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Round 3 application for $569,940, including a local homelessness action plan with the amendments as stated.
Second.
I have a motion to end a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, and wanted to, just consensus, if we can get that data from round 1 and round 2, that would be great.
Yes.
The ideal.
We'll like I said, we'll give you a background, not that funding, but also other funding that we received too.
That would be great.
Would the board like that to be like in the form of a formal presentation or just send an email? How would you like it?
I'm going to leave that up to the chair because that all takes time. And at this moment in time, I'm just wanting to have a better attention to the funding that we receive and the progress that we're actually making when dealing with our those experiencing homelessness.
You would like to see it come here, or?
Yeah, I think coming here, if we can get it on an agenda, I think it's a good item.
Yeah, we'll look for that in the near future,
Okay.
and then we'll work with you on a good date for that. And so we'll just check in with you and see where we're at with it. So
Okay, we got some good data to share with you then.
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to go on to 5.9 while we have you, Todd.
Yes.
I don't know if Scott, if you wanted to stay on this one as well. It's
You're not done yet.
It's one that was pulled from the consent agenda. It's 5.9, approve agreement between County of Lake and Everwell Health Systems for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services for fiscal years 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25 in the amount of $360,000, and authorize the board chair to sign. With that, Supervisor Spatier, you pulled it, so I'll let you open it.
Thank you very much. So this is a contract being submitted to us. This company did not submit a bid based on the RFP that was provided. However, it's brought to us as a 3-year contract, which typically would only be allowed if you put in a bid and you were the only bidder, or else it's a 1-year contract. But here it's a 3-year contract being provided because they're offering an incentive that it's a 2% increase per year instead of a 3.5% increase per year. That increase, when you look at on a year-to-year basis, is anywhere between, I think, $800 to $1,200. I forget what it is exactly. But it's also not embedded within the contract for the 3 years, which means it's going to have to come back as an amendment anyways. And in my opinion, if we don't formalize the 2% in the contract, then they're just going to ask for the 3.5%. That's what I would do if I were them. And so, in my opinion, we just approve the 1 year, and we go from there. Our bidding process does not have any conditional ifs. That if they offer extra incentives, we can go ahead and offer them a 3-year contract. It says if there's more than one bid, it's 1 year. Or if there's only one bid, then it can be 3 years. They don't fulfill that requirement, and so I'm just bringing it to the board to see if the board approves of making that change to a 1-year contract of $120,000 rather than a 3-year contract, which currently says $360,000, but it's not really $360,000 because it doesn't have the increases embedded in it.
Thank you, Supervisor Spatier. Yeah, our rationale for this was around the cost savings, but it is certainly not significant, and I would agree that we could certainly amend this to be a 1-year contract. That shouldn't be a problem.
All right. So is there any other comments from the board or staff? No. I'll open it up to public input, and I don't see anybody in the chambers or online, so I'll bring it back to the board for action. Supervisor Sabatier.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agreement between County of Lake and Everwell Health Systems for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services for fiscal year 22-23 for a total of $120,000, and authorize the board chair to sign.
Ms. Grant.
Excuse me, there's also a provision under the term of the agreement that it extends to June 2025, so.
And I changed that to just 22-23. Do we need to change something else?
No, it's just, so you're amending both paragraph 2 as to term, changing it to 2023, and then the amount of compensation in paragraph 3 to 1, okay.
That is the clarification we needed. Thank you. Yes.
All right.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And thank you, Todd. All right. With that, I don't know why I just opened the Planning Commission on accident, but Here we go. Let's see. We'll go on to item 7.5, addendum. Is that?
Do you want to do 7.4 first?
Yeah, let's.
It's fairly quick.
We'll knock it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do 7.4, which is a consideration of the following advisory board appointments, and that is for the Resource Conservation District 1 vacancy, James Bridges, reappointment. And so, is there any discussion on this item, or anyone from the public?
Did you say District 1?
That's what it says on the...
That's what it says.
That person's from Nice, I thought.
No, I think it just says district and then one vacancy.
Oh,
So it looks like District 1 on the memo, but it's just one vacancy.
Yeah, there it
Sorry
is.
about that.
The way it reads in the legislative text. Yeah, it's...
Just checking.
It says Resource Conservation District, and then it says one vacancy, and I didn't see the semicolon.
You didn't pause.
Yeah. I don't see anyone from the public, so I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve James Bridges to the Resource Conservation District and reappoint.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and motion carries. And now we'll move on to 7.5, which is an addendum, consideration of appealing Planning Commission decision, reason Bottle Rock Farm, FJA Trust Cannabis Project. And Supervisor Sabatier, you brought this forward, so I'll let you go ahead and
Thank you very much. So on Thursday, there was a Planning Commission meeting, and Bottle Rock Farm FJA Trust Cannabis Project was one of the projects being considered. During the conversation, there was some new information that had just been obtained the day before that was provided by both our Planning Department and our Code Enforcement. There were, mainly what was brought forward was some violations that had been identified by both Code Enforcement and the Planning Department. And I think that, so one of the rules for approving a use permit is that all of the following items need to be met. And one of those items is that there are no violations. And we've dealt with that before. We've seen some of those appeals where if it's not possible to say that there's no violation, then it's not possible to say yes to a use permit. I think that because there was so much new information at the last minute, I think there may have been some misunderstandings, maybe some confusion, both between staff and our planning commissioners on how to proceed and how to process this new information. I did speak with County Counsel, Ms. Grant, and I think one of the confusing factors was a statement from Code Enforcement that said that there's no official written violation for the violations that were identified. However, just because there's no official written file does not mean that one does not exist, and our Code Enforcement officer testified in front of the planning commissioners that violations did indeed exist. And in speaking with Ms. Grant, that is the case. You do not have to write out an official document in order to have a violation exist. And so I wanted to bring this to us for the fact that I think that there was some last-minute things, but at the same time, I want to make sure that the integrity and purpose of the Planning Commission when making sure that they meet all the following items before approving a use permit does not accidentally get frayed, so that future projects going through the Planning Commission do not get impacted by decisions that were made. And so I wanted to have the discussion here. It was difficult at the Planning Commission. It was not the first time that they had seen this project come to the Planning Commission, and there was only 3 commissioners at the Planning Commission meeting as well, which adds a level of difficulty from not being able to discuss it in a larger perspective and a larger audience. But I wanted to make sure and protect that for the fact that we have made decisions based on whether or not a applicant has met all of those requirements for a use permit, and I did not want us to just let that one move on without bringing it here to have a discussion, and whether or not this Board of Supervisor, through the code that we have, chooses to appeal it and rediscuss this item further.
Ms. Grant?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would say that there was an issue. I believe the Planning Commission had been leaning toward continuing the item because of certain issues. There was a statement made by staff in the course of the hearing that issuance of a permit would wipe out the violation, and that's not actually correct. The section of 51.4, number 6, relating to violations, says no violation of the enumerated chapters currently exists unless the purpose of the permit is to correct the violation. Well, that's not actually the purpose of the permit, but it doesn't wipe it out. What a continuance would have done would have given the party time to work with code enforcement and with community development to correct, and instead of a decision was made. So whether your board decides to hear this appeal, you won't be hearing it today. This would just be a decision to take it up, and then there would be a hearing, and obviously the property applicant would be entitled to present information, and members of the public would be entitled to comment, along with community development presenting their case. So procedurally, that's what you would go forward.
Thank you for that explanation. Are there any other comments?
And I mentioned the violations within the memo, that there were violations of grading, illegal buildings, and plants in the ground prior to getting the permit. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear to the board and the public.
Yeah.
Supervisor Simon?
And I know this is going to be, obviously this was another conversation we had, so this will be the first one that we've done as a board when we had that last conversation, because I know I was looking at that. I was thinking, I know that we have, appeals have come to us and we've overturned what the Planning Commission has done in the past, but this will be the first one in this manner. But as we learned about it, I think for me today, I think we should go forward with it, with the appeal. We did have a question on that because it is, I think there was a question last time, the dollar amount. Does the board pay that is there a fee or?
Ms. Grant?
Well, I can tell you that when I file papers in the court, although there are filing fees, your board does not pay because you're a government entity.
Okay.
So I would imagine you could adhere to the same thing, but of course the ordinance is silent. It's silent on the process as well. Here, because your board hears these matters de novo, essentially what you'd be doing, I believe, would be to take the matter up and be able to be presented with the circumstances and the issues before you and make a decision, or make a determination that you believe would justify remand to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
And again, in the interim, before the appeal's heard, there's no prohibition for the project applicant to work with the department in order to try to resolve whatever can be resolved before the hearing. So.
Thank you for that. So we'll go ahead and open it for the public input. So if there's anyone from the public that would like to come and speak, please come up and state your name. Once you state your name, we'll give you 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Berg, and I'm the project applicant. The Lake County Cannabis Ordinance was written to attract professional operators. I'm a professional business person. My partners are professionals. We are the quality of operator that your ordinance was written to attract. We have invested several millions of dollars in startup costs to operate in this county. We've paid our fees and our taxes to this county. Our professionalism embodies the spirit of the ordinance and the operator it was written to attract. This county needs operators with sound business practices and financial acumen to withstand harsh cannabis market conditions that are present in the current marketplace. All projects are out of compliance from time to time. The system is getting better due to the attention of the board and also to the planning department. Operator compliance is also getting better every day. The flaws in the system are being cured by all stakeholders working together collaboratively to improve the system, but not by putting operators who are largely compliant and who make compliance a massive priority out of business in this county. This is the only project I have under cultivation. The same is true of my partners, Amiel and Fred. We do not have any other projects under cultivation at all anywhere. Our project is the bedrock of our business, and to put us out for the 2022 season after a very harsh 2021 market will mean absolute destruction of our company. We have worked tirelessly with CDD to gain our final permit. There is no grading violation. I received my grading permit in June. The temporary hoops, which were up at the time code enforcement visited the site last week on Wednesday, are down. They're only up 2 weeks per year just to stage the clones for planting. The temporary structures are not erected at the present moment. I have been proactive, progressive, forward-moving, and professional in my collaboration with the Community Development Department to get final approval. I personally ensured all tribes were consulted. I contacted Middletown Rancheria and completed cultural sensitivity training with the tribe. I also pestered the program manager to connect with Big Valley Band of Pomo Indians to ensure they were consulted for their thoughts about my project. For the last 2 years and 9 months, I've done everything I could to obtain my permit timely. On June 23rd, there was another project located in District 2, which was approved by the Planning Commission. That project operated in violation without early activation and without payment of cultivation taxes for 2 years. That project was not sponsored by any supervisor for the consideration of appeal. To make a decision to appeal my project today will set a precedent of selective enforcement by way of appeal by this board. I feel this is a slippery slope, and I also feel that my district supervisor for District 5 should be present to help make this decision today. Projects may be approved at the discretion of the Planning Commission. Is that my timer?
Yes, if you're coming to
I am coming to
okay, go ahead.
Thank you. In this case, the Planning Commission considered the merits of the facts provided and approved the project. The project came before PC 3 times. They had plenty of time to review the staff report and initial study before making a conclusion regarding the project. They did their job. They used the discretion granted to them under the county code when they unanimously approved my project on Thursday of last week. I feel their decision should not be considered for appeal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Did anyone have questions?
Hello, my name's Amiel Needham. I'm also owner of Bottle Rock Cannabis. Our project is located where it's not visible from the public or no nuisance. Let's see, it's not bothering anybody. Nobody can see it. And we've been operating for 2 years and we haven't had one complaint from anybody in the public. And we also had nobody in the county oppose our project. So we feel that this really is like the perfect project for you guys to allow to happen. Let's see. We have put millions of dollars into the local economy. Challenging the MUP we were awarded will close the farm and cut off this much needed money to the local population and our families. This is it. This is all of our business for this year. If you guys overturn it, then none of us have jobs for the entire year. And like $200 or $300 grand that we put into this project, we lose all of that. So that's why the Planning Commission made the decision they made, because it was a very important decision for everybody involved. We have already suffered from not having our MUP. Unfortunately, this year we bought a $120,000 processing building because we thought we were going to have our MUP, and that's just sitting on the ground right now. It's like literally a useless $120,000 sitting on the ground at our farm, and we're just waiting till we can, as soon as you guys give us our MUP, we can apply for the permit to build our processing building and operate better. We did not plan on planting any plants without our MUP. A chain of unfortunate events out of our control caused us to make a hard financial decision. It's very difficult to order the plants for a farm our size. We had put in an order in the beginning of the year for approximately $100,000 worth of starts. It's a non-refundable deposit. And our partner Jen made sure that we were going to have all the proper permitting and everything, and everybody at the county said we were. That's why we were not given on another year of early activation, because they said we were going to have our MUP before that. So we tried as hard as we could to stay permitted and follow all the rules and everything, and some circumstances happened at the end, and we had to make a financial decision. We're farmers, even people don't like to look at it as farmers sometimes, but we had all of our starts that were ordered a long time ago show up, and it was either just throw them away and lose 100,000 or plant them. So we feel that the decision that was made really helps us out, and we feel that clears our violation, and we would love if you would support their decision to give us our MUP. And we look forward to working with the planning department, deputy director, and program manager to maintain a violation-free, compliant, and responsible operation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Joan?
Joan Moss. This morning I give you my short version. Today I'm talking about the process. I tried to appeal and I was denied my appeal on the basis of my income. And I'm still trying to get a drought complaint, and I'm not having very much success. So what I'm wanting to do is go back and file for an appeal. I have my appeal application I got from the courts, and I want to tell you that in a very real sense, what happened here is what happened to me. All of a sudden there's new information and you're thinking of an appeal. Well, I found information that was verified by county employees. I'm not a government employee, but the Environmental Health Department pointed out that the hydrology report presented by Mombacho Vineyards was not accurate, and my well will be in the way.
Joan, this isn't about Mombacho, and so I understand it's about the appeal. If you can,
but if you get the appeal, maybe I should.
Right. So if you could just stick to the appeal, your disagreement or agreement with the appeal or something of that nature.
I wrote more, so here you are.
Okay. Well, we'll take that and read.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I haven't given up. Yeah. I have letters from the Attorney General. I'm still writing letters and
thank you, Joan.
Still trying to work with the sheriff. Thank you very much. I'll give this to Anita also. All right.
Good morning, members of the board, council. My name is Chris Andre, and I'm an attorney, and I'm here on behalf of Bottle Rock. I hope that before you make this decision, each of you will take the time to look at the video that led to the decision by the board, so that you have not just a quick interpretation of what occurred, but actually see what occurred and see why these people who you have entrusted to follow and do the best job for you, after having heard everything that has already been said here, realized for lots of reasons, which I hope you'll give me the time to go into, decided that this permit should be granted. First of all, it's pretty clear and unrefuted that these people have been members of your community. They're your partners here. They're here to help you and help this county prosper. I've been practicing law for a lot of years, and cannabis has been through all different machinations. And my own view, I live in Sonoma County, but my view was when Lake County decided they were going to embrace an industry that was obviously going to grow, it was a smart move. People like these guys came up here, and they have provided jobs, they provided income and fees to your county for the last 2 years to the tune of about $3 million in jobs to people. Late last year, they were getting ready to apply, and Jen went to the county. This is all in the record, and they said, she said, we want to get early activation. They said, no, you don't need early activation. You have plenty of time to get your major use permit. What the county planning commissioners found was that the reason for the violation, if there was a violation, and that's why I think they went back to the language of the statute, was that the reason for the violation was more on the county's fault than the fault of our clients, because the county had had contrition in workforces, we're waiting for tribal approval, and there was an admission by the county that they kind of dropped the ball. And these planning commissioners saying, why are we going to punish them for when they did everything they could possibly do, and they were faced, like many businesses are faced with, the moment of truth. In February, they're led to believe that for no other reason, they will have their permit before their clones are scheduled to arrive. Jen orders the clones in February, has to pay $130,000 for them. They're told they will arrive sometime between July 15th and August 15th with a target date of August 1st. They get them about a week before the hearing, and there they are sitting there with these things. If they don't put them in the ground, they go broke. They lose everything because they're not like illegal growers making millions of dollars. They're farmers. They're investing their money in your county. And they're saying, we have to put these things in the ground. That's why your code enforcement gentleman, he came forward and he said, you know, I was out there, but I didn't violate them. And the reason why I didn't violate them is I came here today, and if you grant this, then there will be no reason for me to violate them. And he understood, and everyone understood, that these people were doing their absolute best. So it's kind of, and I don't mean to be harsh here, but it's kind of gotcha on a technicality. The board saw past that, and the board did the right, human, and just thing here by granting this permit.
Sir, if you could come to a close,
Okay.
your 3 minutes.
One final thing I do want to say. I do believe also, contrary to county council's view, that the board acted within the confines of the statute, because in your statute, you have the language of shall and may. Shall is mandatory, may is discretionary. In the chapter that is described here, may is what's used. Means the county had discretion, in spite of the violation that it was alleged, not noticed, not anything, to approve the project. And they did. And I think you guys should, if you want business partners like these guys, which I think you want, rethink your decision here and don't appeal. It's not going to help anybody. It's just going to cost money and litigation. And I love when I speak against my own interests. I don't want a job. I don't want to be involved in this case. I want you guys to prosper here, and that's the best way. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers that would like to speak on this item? I see hands up in the Zoom room, so I'll go ahead and start with Donna. If you would unmute to state your name for the record, and we'll start your 3 minutes.
Good morning, board. This is Donna Mackwitz from Redbud Audubon Society, and I'd like to urge you to consider filing the appeal. You'll be sending to all a message that it's okay, as the applicant said, that all projects are out of compliance from time to time if you don't file the appeal. Rules and ordinances are made to be followed, and county planners and legal counsel should be respected. Thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you. Next is Sarah Bodner. If you would unmute to state your name for the record, and we'll start your 3 minutes.
Hello, this is Sarah Bodner, Policy Director for the Lake County Cannabis Alliance. And I just want to say that this whole really unfortunate position that every stakeholder finds himself in right now is indicative of a system that has not worked smoothly. And I think we would all heartily admit that. There has been massive turnover, many programmatic changes, many updates to the ordinance over many years. And so, what we're looking at is cracks in the system that reveal the vulnerabilities. And we know that permitting is a two-way street, and it involves compliance and follow through from both the county and the staff and the operators. And there are myriad examples of where things have fallen through the cracks, where paperwork has been lost, where deadlines have not been met, when staff members have disappeared and all of their emails and files with them. And that's, I think, what this timeline shows us. And how do we move forward amidst all of that? I think firstly, if we're going to make a decision about a project in a district, then that supervisor should be present and be able to speak to how this project impacts their community. Secondly, I think every single option needs to be explored, including putting conditions of approval around compliance on a particular project, and that an appeal isn't the only option that you have here, as we're pointed towards what is the greater good. And how can we make Lake County a welcoming business environment for good actors? Because I think that's what we all want. And LCCA is here side by side with you and figuring out how to do that and how we can heal these cracks in the system so that the right projects can move forward and that will be here supporting the economy and the community a year from now and many years from now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any other public comment from the Zoom room? All right. If there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and close public input and bring it back to the board. And I wanted to actually, in hearing the last statement, I know County Council and myself has discussed some, I guess, dialogue that's been taken about the Planning Commission and different ideals. And I know that the Planning Commission bylaws are quite old, and I know that there's been discussion about certain things that aren't covered, and I don't know if maybe we can entertain working with them on maybe upgrading their bylaws or something like that. I don't know if County Council.
You certainly could. It's not really germane to the issue before you today, as you know, but you certainly could send a request as a board for that update if that's something that you would like. Today, your issue is whether you want to take this up as an appeal.
Right.
And again, your board sits de novo, so that means it's all new.
Right.
The information and the evidence. You can certainly, as I said, if you want staff, or staff would be entitled to anyway, try to make attempts to resolve much of these issues before it comes back to your board on appeal, if that's possible. I don't know that it is, but that certainly would remain an avenue that the parties could pursue during the pending time. Your board could seek an expedited appeal if time is of the essence, which it may be to these applicants, to hear the matter. And as I said, taking it up an appeal doesn't necessitate any particular decision. And your board may seek to mitigate or to make an outright decision, et cetera. As you know, you're well aware of your authority in decision-making when it comes to these matters.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. I only bring up the bylaws. I know it's not, it doesn't have anything on the appeal. I just am hoping that maybe we can figure out ways to assist with having to bring things like this if there's a policy in place or a bylaw that's upgraded that gives leverage to attendance, supervisorial districts, projects, things of that nature.
And if your board wishes, we could certainly make some suggestions in that regard. Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. With that, Supervisor Simon?
Yeah, you know, if they're just hearing the comments today, and, you know, this obviously being something new that we're working with, I would like to see if we could push this for Supervisor Pyska to be here for this decision. You know, I would hope that each one of us would get that opportunity, unless we had already corresponded with the chair or something, you know, in some manner. But you know, I think that would be the thing to do. I kind of, move that, or think back that with the Planning Commission, you know, maybe they should have pushed it down the road too. The conversation happened, but they should have, see if we could get at least one more Planning Commissioner to weigh in on that conversation. So that would be my request. And then, being this is kind of the first time moving through this too, Anita, do you need a 4/5 vote on this appeal? You just need 3, just a majority? Okay.
In this case, it would be all of you would have to approve moving forward on appeal. If you don't think you have that, you may want to continue it. I don't know if anyone's aware of Supervisor Pyska's opinion, but of course the issue of the appeal is substantive. This is simply procedural, whether you're going to take it up. But if you do wish to have Supervisor Pyska present for even that issue, you can certainly do so. You have a 7-day clock for this, but your board could, I imagine, toll time. Or you could just simply agree to file the appeal with the condition that it may be withdrawn if Supervisor Pyska or another of your board doesn't support it.
So the 7-day clock is running since it was on Thursday. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Supervisor Sabatier?
putting this on the agenda without Supervisor Pyska here was, to me, the more difficult decision that I had to make. There were comments made that it just to admit to illegal buildings, to admit to planting early, and then saying it's staff's fault is something that just it's hard for me to take that. It's just it doesn't fit within my realm of reality of who's responsible for the actions taken. And there are still violations. Some of those violations were found the day before, including the pipes that were laid down for irrigation for being dug too deep, according to our code enforcement officer. So those things, to say that they don't exist, they existed then. And I'm still very nervous about moving forward, and the statement we're making for any other project. I understand and I empathize on the potential impact that this has, but I'm looking at the potential impact on what will now be allowed and forced through at the Planning Commission level, where that is our gatekeeper to ensure that we look at the rules and do the right thing. And I think that there was some confusion that day, and I think that it's scary to me to think as to what kind of precedent this sets if we just allow things to move forward as is. I don't mind the idea of moving forward with the appeal with the condition that there's approval from Supervisor Pyska, but at the same time, systemically, I'm still nervous, but to give her the respect of her district, of choosing for her district, I would go in that direction to make sure that her voice is added into the decision of it. And it's funny that we're asking for Jessica Pyska to be here today, but nobody was asking for Melee Field to be there to make a decision. So it doesn't matter if they're there when you get what you want, but it matters that they're there if you're not going to get what you want. And so it's again, we're pushing things in different directions based on what our needs and our wants are. And I think we need to be very black and white on what does this do? How does this affect us? What is the impact to the system that we need to have integrity in? So that's the way that I would like to move forward.
Yeah, I hear your point. Yeah, this is a tough one. But the 7-day clock, obviously, I don't want to be, would you say, Anita, use a certain term? Tolling or yeah, so it's not something that that I'm in favor of. So I asked my question, and I think at this point, when I voted for the ordinance, it was to get those rules and regulations in place, and having that thing in hand before you make a business decision. It is a business decision, but if you make the wrong one, it could cost you. So if you're willing to make the motion, then I'm willing to second it.
I'm going to give it a shot. I move to move forward with appealing the Planning Commission decision regarding Bottle Rock Farm FJA Trust Cannabis Project with the condition of a written approval being obtained by our administrative staff from Supervisor Pyska. Is that
Prior to the date scheduled set for the hearing.
correct?
Okay. Just a question to you. I know you made an adjustment there, but my conversation, I was going to ask for it to stay for for Jessica to be able to be here to have that conversation, but that time frame doesn't meet on the 7th. So I haven't seconded a motion like this, and you just saw it. A written, Jessica can write it yes or no, and then what does that do?
That either cancels it or moves forward.
It probably would be a cleaner process to just toll the period in order to allow the supervisor to be present to determine the appeal, or to simply file the appeal and the supervisor in whose district it is will be present at the hearing.
I think that would be the direction I would support, the second.
And just a quick question for County Council. Because our appeal process says 7 days, legally to postpone a decision, where does that put us?
Well, the second one that Supervisor Simon supported was just to go ahead and
Yes,
file the appeal.
Sorry, I wasn't clear about that.
Okay.
With all the questions and answers and back and forth and the writing, you know, I think if we're going to do it, we just need to make that decision today.
Okay. Okay. Then I move to approve appealing Planning Commission decision regarding Bottle Rock Farm FJA Trust Cannabis Project.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll close this item and move on to the next one. Do we know the date, or are we going to determine that at a later?
I'll contact Board Member Pyska right after this, and it'll be either the next meeting or the one after that. Okay.
And I'm looking at,
Oh, never mind. Probably the last.
Oh, no worries.
Is that the
stand on the
23rd?
chair.
1, 2, 3.
I would think that you could be able to do it by the
23rd?
notice out by the 23rd.
Okay.
Okay, by the 23rd.
Time?
And what time would be the same time as now that we
That
did
would
for
be
today?
perfect.
Okay, so like maybe
11 a.m.
11 a.m.
11?
Yeah. Well, maybe 10:30. It is an
10:30?
appeal. Yeah, it is an appeal, and so.
Can I set that in a motion to set the appeal? I'd like to move to set the appeal for August 21st at 10:30 a.m.
23rd, right?
23rd.
23rd.
Thank you.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and motion carries. So we'll move forward with this item on the 23rd at 10:30 a.m.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. And that, we've covered all of the, yep, we just have calendars. So Supervisor, who wants to go first?
Did we get everything that was pulled? We did all the,
Yeah, we did those.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do it because I was kind of short here.
I can start.
Okay, go ahead.
So after this meeting, I'm going to be looking to see if I can spend a little bit of time with our IT department to continue getting that database on our network and working appropriately. For some reason, I expected to see a LTA APC meeting, but I guess that's next week, and it is.
Next week, yeah.
I have a Lake County Solid Waste Task Force on Thursday after I start my day off with Judge's Breakfast, finish that day off with a Clear Lake City Council meeting. There's an ARPA meeting on Friday, and getting myself ready because school starts for my son on Wednesday. I can't believe it's already that time. There's something on... I don't have it on my calendar, but there's something on Saturday I need to remember that's happening. Other than that, I have a pretty wide open week at this moment in time to work on some other things that I'm working on that I'll be bringing to the board soon, and then meeting with our CAO on Monday and preparing for a Tuesday meeting. And that's it for me.
Okay. So kind of got an open calendar on Wednesday, but Thursday I have Space Use Committee in the afternoon. That's at 3:30. But I'm going to be kind of close to doubling up there. I'll probably on the Space Committee for a few minutes, but also have a scheduled call with Senator McGuire. It starts at 3:45, so I'm going to take care of that. I'll jump on the Space Committee meeting and then get right off and go in the other one. Friday, I don't got to get it on my calendar this year, our 9 a.m., we just stick with that. I don't know why it says canceled on mine, so I'm going to try and accept it. But anyway, resend it. I know it's something I'm doing. And then the weekly planning meeting, staff tree mortality meetings on Friday, and then back here on Tuesday for our board meeting.
All right. So mine, tomorrow morning, I have agenda review, and then I'll be meeting with constituent in Upper Lake. Earth East Region Town Hall will be at 4 p.m. at the Moose Lodge tomorrow. I'll also have it available via Zoom. So I'll be there. Following that, go to the CSA meeting out in Spring Valley at 7 p.m. Thursday morning at 9:30, there is the AR 330 Cal 20 water discussion brief that they have once a month, and the Solid Waste Task Force Committee meeting at 10. Space use at 3:30 on Thursday, and then Friday I have a meeting with constituent in Clear Lake Oaks, or some constituents in Clear Lake Oaks regarding cannabis, and then cannabis ordinance and task force discussions and appeals, things of that nature. But CAO meeting in Monday at 9 a.m. and back here on Tuesday. So
The first task force meeting was Monday?
task force.
Nice.
Which one's that?
Cannabis?
Oh, no. I don't know. Is that? I didn't.
I think it started on Monday.
No, I'm talking to constituents about their discussion. It's not the task force, but it's their concerns. So.
Gotcha.
Sorry for that. Yeah, don't want to. Anyhow, that's what we have for calendars for now, and with that, we will go into closed session, it looks like. And so we have one item, 8.1, conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 E5, one potential case. With that, we'll go ahead and close for closed session, and thank you.